I'm going to get going since this is a short session and we want to give our presenters as much time as possible. Good afternoon. My name is Kaylee Pratt. I'm Senior Policy Analyst with Partnership for Strong Communities. Thank you so much for joining us at the Connecticut Affordable Housing Conference today. I have Carlene Tremlis here with me as well, the Collective Impact and Equity Director at PSC. I'm going to quickly move through the slides. That way we can hand off to our presenters today. As you know, the conference features local, state, and national experts that lead conversations and that explore challenges, share best practices, and coalesce us around critical next steps to address key affordable housing issues in our state. You can join the conversation on Twitter at hashtag CAHC 2022. And you can follow us at PSC Housing if you aren't already. This session today is building capacity of affordable housing development sector. And before we jump in, we just want to thank our leading sponsors, the Connecticut Department of Housing, Connecticut Housing Finance Authority, the Rosa Building Group, Melville Charitable Trust, and Wells Fargo. Their deep support has allowed this conference to happen once again this year. And our collaborating sponsors, you can take a moment here to look at our list, quite a few. And then on our next slide, we have quite a few supporting sponsors that we would like to thank. And last but not least, we have our session sponsors, the Millennium Group and Fifth Company. Thank you to all. And one note before we move in to the presenters once again is we have just released our PSC's housing data profiles with an update for 2022. You can access the latest data for all of Connecticut's towns and cities in an online interactive form. The link to that I will drop in the chat in just a moment, so please check those out. A few housekeeping items. This session is being recorded and we will make all recordings available as soon as possible following the event. All participants have entered muted. Please remain on mute unless the speaker has asked you to unmute. If you have any technology issues, please select the chat icon at the bottom of your screen and send a message to me, Kaylee Pratt, and I will try to assist you as quickly as possible. And your speakers will let you know how they want to address any questions. So look out for that. And after the session, you can complete a session feedback survey by clicking on the megaphone icon on the in the lobby and let us know your feedback. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Casey LaFlamme to get started.
Great. Thanks so much, Kaylee. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining our short session today to learn more about the Housing and Community Development Leadership Institute, and in particular, the hands-on internship component of this new program. Today's session will feature an overview of the HCDLI. We'll hear from an organization currently serving as an internship host site. And lastly, we'll hear from one of the HCDLI interns about the scope of work from her internship. So we'll start off with quick introductions. For those of you that may not know me, my name is Casey LaFlamme, and I'm a Senior Program Officer with LISC Connecticut.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Patrick McMahon. I am the Economic Development Director for the Town of Windsor.
Hello, everyone. My name is Donna Trowers-Morrison, a student with Housing and Community Development Leadership Institute. I'm completing my internship in the Economic and Community Development Department in Town of Windsor, where I've lived for almost 30 years. Thanks for joining us.
Great. So the Housing and Community Development Leadership Institute, or the HCDLI, is a new program that's supported by Connecticut's Department of Housing and the Connecticut Housing Finance Authority, and is administered by LISC Connecticut. It's designed to create career pathways for individuals interested in joining the community development sector, with an emphasis on recruiting Black, Indigenous, and other women of color. The program coordinates monthly workshops and offers participants the opportunity to complete a paid internship to gain hands-on experience. And LISC has three primary goals for this program. The first is expanding the number of individuals entering careers in the community development sector, again, with an emphasis on recruiting women of color. This will help address the critical staffing challenges experienced by many community development organizations statewide. The second is around supporting continued professional development for the sector more broadly, not only just to retain current talent who are working in this field, but also to support the sharing of best practices. And lastly, the third is to promote collaboration and engagement between professionals and organizations working in community development. So as this is a new program, LISC is still identifying the best approaches for achieving these goals. And I'd be happy to grab coffee or have a conversation with anyone who's joining the presentation today who may have ideas or strategies for us on how we can best achieve some of these goals. I'll share my contact information at the end of the presentation with everyone. So as I mentioned earlier, the focus for today is really on the internship component of the HCDLI. Why an internship? Well, because the opportunity to participate in an internship has tremendous value add for the participants in this program, such as helping to build confidence to apply what they've been learning in workshops and other certification courses to real-life projects and programs. It also helps to build their peer network within a sector that they're transitioning careers to. Currently, we're working with Fairfield County Center for Housing Opportunity, Mutual Housing Association of Greater Hartford, Neighborhood Housing Services of New Haven, the Community Builders, and Town of Windsor, who we'll hear from in just a moment. So I do want to acknowledge and thank those host sites for their willingness to participate in this first round of internships. It's never easy being first, and so we really appreciate them joining us on this journey and being willing to join in this first round. All the interns are paid $15 per hour, and the host sites in 2023 will receive a subsidy grant of 50% of the cost for hosting an intern. We really want to make sure that this cost share isn't prohibitive for organizations to participate. And I do want to point out that the majority of individuals who participate in the HCDLI program, that they have on average 10 or more years of work experience. So they were bringing valuable skills and other areas of expertise to the host sites that they're placed with. Up next, I'm pleased to turn the presentation over to Patrick from the Town of Windsor to discuss his experience partnering with the HCDLI to host an intern.
Thanks, Casey. I wanted to start off explaining why Windsor chose to participate and why you as a organization might want to move forward with an intern in 2023. I've had experience with LISC when I was at the Connecticut Main Street Center and our program called Come Home to Downtown, which was designed to get housing on upper stories of mixed-use buildings in our downtowns. I highly respect the work of Jim Horan and his team at LISC. They're very experienced and very impactful across the state. I really jumped at the opportunity because I needed really to move projects forward, and the opportunity to have mid-career folks step to the plate and help us on projects utilizing meaningful activities. I really wanted to do that. We have an active housing rehabilitation program that's been in place for 40 years. It just so happened that our program manager was going out on maternity leave. And so this was perfect timing for us to have an intern because we could really use the assistance. Plus, we were moving forward on a couple of housing-related projects to be funded through the American Rescue Plan Act funds, which is above and beyond our daily activities. So again, we needed really some additional assistance. As I mentioned, since HCDLI interns are mid-career, they can bring meaningful insights to the table right from the get-go. Donna has brought 30 years of experience to Windsor. We've endeavored to provide her with really meaningful projects so she can move the needle on. I also wanted to participate in the program because I saw a serious need for more people involved in community development across the state. I've been very concerned that the Connecticut Development Association became defunct, and I'm happy to see that programs like HCDLI are filling that gap at the current time. So the mechanics, working with LISC has been seamless. They provided us intern statements of interest from 7 intern prospects, We were asked to interview at least 3 of them, which we did. We interviewed 3 candidates for a half an hour each, and then we ranked our preferences. LISC assigned Donna to us, which is great, as she was our top choice, and the fact that she's a Windsor resident is a bonus. We agreed to 24 weeks at 20 hours per week. We have a flexible schedule each week. Donna and I just check in at the end of each week, looking to see what we have on the plate for the following week, and we come up with a schedule that would work for both of us. We entered into a memorandum of understanding between the town and Donna, which outlined the expectations for the internship. We had shown a draft to LISC, which vetted it and said that it met their needs. And then LISC worked with our town's finance department to set up the mechanics for grant receipt, as well as the accounting of her time. We also entered into a grant agreement with LISC. As Casey mentioned, LISC is providing 50% of the costs of the internship. Another great reason to sign on as a host organization. Donna and I also have regularly scheduled meetings with Fran Martin, who's working with LISC, just basically a check-in. How's it going with the host community, and how's it going with the internship? They look like they're working very hard to make sure that any of the bugs that from this very first round are ironed out, so that the cohort in 2023 will go even more smoothly. I don't know how it could, because it really has been, as I said, right from the get-go, it's been very seamless. We've been very fortunate to have Donna work with us, and I just highly recommend the program to any other host organizations. And with that, I'll pass it over.
Thank you, Patrick. Special thanks to the town, the innovative organizers of this Leadership Institute, my selfless classmates and Partnerships for a Strong Community for this platform today. Today, I want to share my experience with you about HCDLI's state-of-the-art preparation, Windsor's life-changing programs, the need for more attention and funding for housing preservation, and advocate for policy change. I've also included some resources for your reference. The Leadership Institute provided a broad area of studies from which to choose. It prepared me adequately for future endeavors and offered lots of opportunity to learn, grow, and make tangible changes in housing and community development, such as lunch and learns, online training, self-guided courses, and virtual learning workshops. The live presentations from experts such as real estate developers in affordable housing, as well as asset and property managers, were timely and engaging. I am indeed privileged to do my intern at the Town of Windsor with Patrick, Flavia, and Sandra. I've been focusing on reviewing guidelines and providing input on their housing preservation programs. I'll now share a brief overview on 3 of those programs, all of which are essential in maintaining healthy, stable homes for low to moderate income residents. The Energy Efficiency Program is designed to start with an energy audit and follow through with any necessary code corrections or repairs. It allows up to $7,500 in loan forgiveness to qualified homeowners. No matching dollars are required. The Housing Rehabilitation Program to qualify homeowners help to preserve the town's housing stock with decent and safe homes. It is funded through community development block grants and program income. An average of 7 homes are rehabbed each year. We currently have 2 units in progress and 20 applicants are currently on a waiting list. The third program to assist small landlords was recently approved using American Rescue Funds. It's designed to stabilize and preserve the quality of affordable rental housing while addressing various building and life safety code repairs for 2 to 4 units. Grants are up to $10,000 per unit. Applicants can match up to $7,500 by way of their own capital, or they can apply to Windsor Federal Savings Bank. The bank has a home improvement loan program for this purpose. Here are some eye-opening stats that I want to share with you about the volume of housing stock that could be subject to rehabilitation. 39% of the renter-occupied and 24% of owner-occupied homes in Connecticut were built before 1969. In this country, 29%, more than 40 million homes were built prior to 1960. Also, more than 19 million older adults are living in homes that are in disrepair or ill-equipped to safely meet their needs. Considering that the age of the home often suggests the hazard that exists, and knowing that aging in place is a desire for many of our mature neighbors, more work needs to be done now before the blight stage. Some of the common repairs outside of environmental hazards seem to be related to heating, water leaks, roof, and electrical issues. These percentages are referring to the more than 40 million homes in the US mentioned earlier. Let's not ignore the magnitude of work that has already been done, but we also need to acknowledge that not all municipalities have a housing rehab program. We found that, like Windsor, if a housing rehab program is already established, a long waiting list is also very likely. Therefore, increased attention and funding are needed to stabilize and preserve the housing stock we already have. I want to further advocate for policy changes so that we can fix while we build. I'm calling for more attention and funding to address this vital mission of housing stability as we concentrate on fixing what we already have while we build. The need for more housing rehab and preservation is not breaking news. It's not a new idea or a new concept. In fact, mission-driven entities, like many of you here, have contributed immensely to preservation goals in your work every day. I leave you with an excerpt from a recent Harvard report, which states, we need to look at the safety and resiliency of existing homes by 1, addressing unsafe homes, 2, increasing energy efficiency, and 3, adding basic accessibility features to enable older adults to age in place safely. I want to share with you that the total learning and internship experience has been very engaging and fulfilling. As an added bonus, during my internship, I was able to engage in 7 full days of training sponsored by Department of Housing for certification in community development block grants and environmental review. The reality is, the knowledge and connections I have made could not have happened without LISC, HCDLI, and their partnerships. This innovative endeavor should continue in leaps and bounds because it is a game changer for this and future cohorts. Thank you for your attention. Resources are shared on the next slide.
Great, thanks so much, Donna. And in the chat, we just uploaded specifically this resources page that Donna so graciously put together that highlights some of the information that she reviewed in her presentation and has used to support her work through the Town of Windsor. So again, thank you, Patrick and Donna, for sharing your experiences with us today about what the program was, and Patrick, for your succinct explanation around how it worked from start to finish. And as you mentioned, we are with any new program, there are always kinks to work out. And so we really appreciate your feedback that you shared with Fran about how the program has worked. And we're certainly taking those lessons learned moving forward and, continuing to revise and shape this program to ensure that it really does meet the needs, not only of the participants, but of the host sites, as well as supporting organizations that really have a vested interest in seeing the HCDLI be successful in the long term. I referenced earlier, and as Patrick has said, there is concern about, the talent pool coming through and who will be filling these roles for community development sector here in the state. And that's really what we're trying to do through this program. So we have a little bit of time left for questions, but first I do want to plug that the HCDLI will begin recruiting internship host sites starting in January for the 2023 cohort. So if you'd like to learn more about hosting an intern, I really please encourage you to reach out to me to start talking about that sooner rather than later. Even if it's just, if you're curious to learn a bit more or would like to be connected with a current host site to have that conversation, please do reach out and I'm happy to make those connections. Additionally, we are still accepting applications for participants for the 2023 cohort. Those applications we are requesting to be submitted by the end of November, and we'll be looking at a January launch for the program. So in the chat, I will place both an information flyer as well as a link to the online application. The participation in the program is free, which I think is a really great way for organizations especially to provide accessible and affordable professional development training to their staff, especially entry-level staff and even mid-level staff, or individuals that you're looking to retain within your organization and perhaps transition into more technical roles, such as project management. So I do encourage, organizations that are on this presentation today to think about how they may be able to connect their staff with the HCDLI program as well. And as I mentioned, I'll drop in the application link so that everybody has that. And going to go ahead and stop my screen share to allow for questions. I see, thank you so much, Phillips Health Ministry, for sharing the program. The question, are posts going to everyone? I'm going to ask to clarify if you need the resources in the side chat, that yes, those will be going out, and we'll also, the presentation has been shared with the Partnership for Strong Communities, and I'm sure they will be identifying ways to share out both this live streamed, the presentation, as well as the PDF slides. Happy to answer any questions, as well if folks have questions for Patrick and or Donna about how the internship was structured and the types of activities that Donna has been working on. Happy to make space for that here.
Casey, I'll mention that every community in Connecticut had to come up with an affordable housing plan. And so Donna had the opportunity to review the drafts here in Windsor and provide commentary relative to that. So I could certainly see, host communities utilizing an intern to help move forward some of the goals and objectives that are, presented in the plans adopted. And I also mentioned we've really tried to introduce her to other organizations in the space of community development, like the Hartford Community Loan Fund. She's met reps at the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving. So we're, again, trying to really help her network. So, because I really want her to stay in this field of community development, because she's really great. And we need the help. We've introduced her to a couple of developers, and she's had one-on-ones with those developers to understand from their perspective what the issues are relative to building more affordable housing in the state.
Yeah. Thank you, Patrick, for that. I will also say that, we are always in search of potential instructors for the workshops that we host. Try to tap into local talent that we have here in the state whenever we can. And so I encourage you to reach out if you have an idea for a virtual workshop or potentially an in-person workshop. We also, as Donna mentioned, host what we call lunch and learns. And so those have mostly been virtual, usually an hour presentation over the lunch period, 12 to 1 o'clock. That's really on an emerging topic. So if you have something that might be of interest, we really encourage you, please reach out, and happy to connect the participants to learn a bit more about these, about the sector. If there are no other questions. Great.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Nope, I was just going to say thank you. So all set.
Thank you all so much. This was very engaging and it was a great program. So thank you so much for sharing. I put in the chat our next session is at 3 o'clock. So in 3 minutes, we're starting up housing access and higher education. So thank you to everyone who joined us, and we hope to see you at more sessions, and have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks, everyone.
You as well. Bye-bye.